I'm Ed, welcome to the studio. This week it's street photography and I've been out on the streets of Manchester shooting pictures as I have been doing for the last 20 years. It's not a POV video this, I'm not going out with the GoPro and showing you how I take all the pictures, but what I have done is taken a video camera around to show the locations where I shot the pictures afterwards so that you can get some context and I can talk over what I'm doing. So here we are at Cornbrook near Manchester city centre, and this is where I started my street photography safari at the weekend with a picture of the wall just over here. It's a static shot, so it was a nice one to get started with, and it gave me a chance to get my camera set up for the conditions that I was going to expect during the day. I like to set my camera up at the beginning of each session with a custom profile. I usually set it to black and white so I can see on review what the shots will look like in black and white, but I also save a raw file so I can go back to the colour information if I want to later. I try and pick the fastest shutter speed and the narrowest aperture that I can, and then I set the camera to manual so I can use the hyperfocal distance. My lenses, I've got a 20mm and a 40 to 150mm, and they're both quite slow at focusing, so I don't want to have to try and focus when I'm taking pictures in a hurry. So I took my first picture here and then I headed along here towards the city centre. I'm not the sort of photographer who picks a place to stop and waits for things to happen. I like wandering the streets, I'm a flaneur. I like to just take in the whole city, and hopefully something unexpected will happen as I wander. The other thing is, if you stand still for too long, you always attract attention, and it's usually unwelcome attention. So this is where I got lucky with my first photo. There was a couple of geese, runaway geese, and some ducklings that found their way up from the river, and a cyclist was helping to guide these geese across the road. It's one of those things that if I hadn't been wandering I would never have seen, and it's a nice thing about photography that it gets me out and about doing stuff and I see things I wouldn't ordinarily see. But it's not the sort of picture that I would normally show because it's not what I do. It's all about where the light falls. So when I got into town I took some pictures of people going up and down the staircase by Beetham Tower and a picture of chimney pots. I took a picture of somebody jogging down Deansgate, but that's not what I want to show, and that's maybe why I'm not really a street photographer. I go out on the street to take pictures that represent my vision. A lot of the things that most people would like, lots of urban stuff, it just doesn't really appeal to me. I'm not looking for people who I think I understand how they think and feel. I am looking for anonymous, empty vessels to show something universal about the world we live in. So here's an example of that from my shoot at the weekend. It's a guy on his mobile phone with a woman walking past, and I just liked the way the light was falling on the background. I took 3 shots in quick succession, and in the middle one all the elements came together. This image speaks to me of being dissociated from the real environment. His posture is almost like he's suspended, fetal. As I've wandered over here, the sun's gone behind the clouds, so that would have been game over for me on Saturday. I would have had to just give it up there because I need the direct light. As it is, today I can carry on and show you the places that I took the pictures. But you can just see how tricky it is. Everything has to be just right. So the next shot that I took was up here of the Central Library with the blossom out. And then after that, a picture of a guy who's just sat in front of the library, and I'll take you there and show you that one next. You can see that there are a number of columns, pillars. So that one there, the square one, there's a guy stood in front of it on his mobile phone, head down, cap, blocking the view of his face. And the way the sun was coming meant that everything behind there was deep black shadows. Today it's all pretty much the same, but if you look at the picture you'll see it was completely different. And that's why the conditions have to be exactly right to get the pictures that I like to take. It's a hard life living in Manchester. So as we wander to the location for the next photograph that I took at the weekend that I'm going to talk about, I suppose it would make sense for me to mention some of my influences. And I guess the number one is Harry Groyart. His work just blew me away and is obviously a big influence on the style of work that I do. Elliot Erwitt, I loved his humour, I loved the way he composed photographs and the way he wasn't pigeonholed into just doing one thing. So another big influence. And also, not a photographer, but Edward Hopper. You know, my themes are alienation and loneliness, and he is the king of that. So that's a really big influence. So we're nearly at the next location now. Keep walking. So it's completely clouded over here today, but on Saturday I was able to get really nice shadows here past the McDonald's sign. I think that was a lovely picture. Couldn't be possible today. So I'm walking along Marble Street and you will see behind me here the Zenith building, and this junction is a great place for me to take the kind of photographs that I like to take when the light's right. You get deep shadows and you get bright highlights. It's on a slight slope, so figures are silhouetted really nicely. But as you can hear, there's always something going on, so you don't want to hang around here for ages because somebody's going to come up and give you aggro. So the next shot I took was a reflection in the glass here on the building in Fountain Street. Again, it's all about the body language of the anonymous actors. She looks towards him questioningly, he looks away. I took another couple of shots in this vein. Here and here. I headed back to the tram stop and that was pretty much the end of my street safari. 3 hours, shot about 500 pictures. It's all about the light and the juxtaposition of that with something else, and it could be here, it could be Paris, it could be anywhere in the world. Anyway, I hope that's given you a little bit of an insight into my process and my thinking, and obviously it's just a snapshot, but that's what it's all about, isn't it? So with that, back to the studio. Okay, so I hope you found that interesting. I hope you've come up with a few ideas from what I've shown you, and I hope you've got some comments that you want to drop down for me as well. That's it for this week. Thanks again so much for staying with me. I really appreciate you being here. It makes me feel like I'm doing something that people care about. So thank you so much. And if you haven't already subscribed, please do subscribe so you won't miss another video. And I will see you very soon. Have a great week. Bye.